Consistency works.
Newsflash.
62 years on this planet, I finally realized that. I've enjoyed CrossFit much more since you've been my coach. I'm working out, but not laying in a puddle of sweat.
What does intensity look like? Like, what does a hard workout look like?
I'm not giving up something by doing it. In fact, when I do it, I'm more joyful, I'm happier. It's not the one thing you do, but it's the comprehensive approach. It's getting back on the horse if you fall off.
And a bad few days doesn't spiral into a bad few weeks or a bad few months.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. So today you're going to be listening to an episode from one of our Fit Vegan coaches, Coach Nick, who is interviewing one of his clients, Phillip, about his Fit Vegan success story, and they dove deep into his 4-month transformation. So in this conversation, you're going to hear about how Phillip went from an inconsistent CrossFitter, constantly being sidelined by injuries, to embracing a hybrid training approach that combines CrossFit, targeted strength workout, and mobility routine. He's also going to share how dialing in his macros and fully committing to a whole food plant-based protocol, even amid a prostate cancer diagnosis, helped him drop his PSA from 6.8 to under the risk threshold. Plus, Phillip opens up about the mindset shift that changed everything for him, viewing self-discipline as a loving action and not suppression, and how accountability has helped him getting back on the horse whenever he stumbled. So I'm proud to have Phillip's story in our Fit Vegan community, and I know his insights will inspire you as much as they inspired me. So let's jump into today's episode with Coach Nick and Phillip. Enjoy. All right, a little introduction before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows sponsor-free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy these shows, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, get healthier on a whole food plant-based lifestyle, to simply send them our way at fitvegancoaching.com, because we are the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform. We have over 1,000 transformation in 20 different countries. So simply send them our way. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments and bills and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we'd be doing in the program. That is all I have for you today. So enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast. It's me, Coach Nick, with the Fit Vegan Coaching, and I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing a Fit Vegan athlete, Phillip, here with me today. Phillip, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, man, so good. I got to do like a nice indoor ride today because it's pouring rain, and I always work harder when it's indoors. So I'm feeling really good right now. Did you get your workout in today?
Well, yeah, since I knew I was going to be on here with you, I was feeling a little guilty because I was a day behind. So I went there an hour early and did your workout, and then did a CrossFit workout afterwards. So I wouldn't have that look of guilt on my face during our podcast.
Pulling double duty so that you don't have to feel guilty. Oh, that's a great way to do it. I mean, that's how you got to do it. I mean, I also love that you just whipped out a double just to make sure that you got it done. So it's my kind of guy right there. I
don't want to get on your bad side.
No, never. I mean, you of all people know exactly how exacting I can be in my vengeance. Given the type of workouts that I've been giving you lately, I wouldn't be surprised if you're intimidated.
Yeah, I can even feel the disappointment in your texts when I haven't lived up to your expectations.
Exactly. I'm just exuding that energy. Definitely. Yep. That's 100% me all the way. The way. I love it.
I need it though.
Yo, exactly. We all need a little bit of that. We all need a little bit of tough love, right? Tough love. So super stoked to have you in here. I mean, today we just get to like explore your story a little bit and a little bit of like your experiences so far. You're still in the throes of the program. But I mean, we've been in for now 4 months, right? We're like coming into our 5th month.
February. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been in it. We've seen some like great success, and hopefully your story can like help motivate some other people and help them see some success as well. You, by no means were you not fit before. You were crushing some workouts, but how would you give us a little bit of a breakdown of like what were you doing before you came into Fit Vegan life?
I was mainly doing, and very inconsistently, CrossFit workouts,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. I'd, go shoot some baskets on occasion, but I was doing CrossFit 4 or 5 times a week. But I wasn't. My main issue was I wasn't very consistent with it.
Right. But those are still not easy workouts. Those are hard workouts that you're showing up for.
Well, yeah, especially when you're not doing them consistently.
Exactly. It makes them that much harder.
Yeah.
When there's a lack of consistency.
Like a masochist.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. And like, how long were you doing CrossFit prior? Like on and off, obviously, but.
I've done it on and off since. I'm terrible with time frames. So if some of my friends fact check me, they can put on some nasty comments if I'm off. But right around 2010, I would say, but it was very, like I said, very inconsistent, sporadic, in between certain knee surgeries and shoulder surgeries and knee replacements and stuff. So
yeah, the good stuff. Yeah. We love that. Oh boy, yeah. Surgeries. Let's go.
Yeah.
Do you think there were any like particular things that you were struggling with in terms of like remaining committed to like showing up to a consistent workout schedule at the CrossFit box or nutrition? Like what were you really like struggling with? Like what was tough for you before you got in here?
Yeah, like I said, I think I would use an injury as an excuse to just not do anything. Mm-hmm. Like if I was feeling my shoulder, I'm like, well, I'm not going to do squats because my shoulder hurts. And I wasn't finding the right motivation to get through that. I was like, okay, my shoulder hurts. I'm just done. I'm going to go home and I'm going to order a pizza. And then when I felt better, I'd go full bore for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I'd have another injury or something come up. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to go eat a pizza.
Oh, totally. I have in my, like from our original meeting, like I was looking back at that. And one of the quotes that I wrote down from you was that I'm either all out or all in.
Yes.
That still like holds true to like your reflection of what you were like there during those years. Like there would be days and weeks where you would just be like on it and dialed in. And then you'd have a few weeks where you're just like off the wagon again and seeing those like fluctuations in performance and like weight and all the things, energy, injuries.
You take very good notes because that's very accurate.
Well, I also took notes that you can't handle cucumbers. But not
kind of famous locally for that.
Yeah. And to this day, despite the Fit Vegan coaching, he's still not a fan of cucumbers. I haven't changed that.
And I still think you did this on purpose. You threw in a recipe with cucumbers after learning that.
Yeah, I did. And I even sent you a note. I was like, I'm giving you this cucumber recipe. Try it and see if you like it. I love it. No, that's awesome. It's so much fun. And like, it's so interesting too. Like CrossFit is such a punishing, I might get in trouble for calling it a sport and then also like retracting that immediately and saying sport, but like not really sport, like activity. It's the sport of training. And it is so punishing. And so it's so easy to like have those weeks where you show up and the workout of the day, for those of you who aren't in the like CrossFit sphere, the WOD, you show up and it can be something that's like totally in your wheelhouse. Like do a bunch of deadlifts and then do some pull-ups and then maybe hit the Airdyne. And you're like, oh yeah, that's totally me. And then like the next day you show up and it's like, hey, you're doing Murph, wear a weight vest and run a couple miles and do a couple hundred squats and a couple hundred push-ups and a couple hundred, like, you're just like, oh my God, like this is absolutely insane. Like pull-ups with a weight vest and running a mile, like get out of here. And so like building that momentum and building the fitness can sometimes be so chaotic because there isn't really, depending on the box that you're at, there's so much variation in the structure. And so progression can sometimes not be as evident, even though you're still getting fitter. You're not necessarily seeing that as directly. Right. So that can be like really tough, and it can mess with you. And so you have these weeks and days where you have motivation and you show up and you're like, yeah, I can crush this workout. And then like you're saying, you show up one day and you're like, oh, squats, like not really feeling it. And then that just sets, once you say no that one day, like the next day is maybe also a no. It's more like,
which is what which is what I struggle with anyway.
Yeah, exactly, which is tough. But yeah.
What did Bruce Lee say? He said, like, learn what's good for you, take what works for you, and throw the rest out.
Oh
I'm
my
paraphrasing, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool quote. I mean, that's how I approach CrossFit now. Like I'm not going to do handstand push-ups and bang my head against the floor and give myself a cervical injury. Yeah.
But you
So
could.
I try to be a little wiser about that, not do the stuff that I know is going to cause injury.
Totally, yeah.
Because it's out there in CrossFit.
It definitely can be, yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that. But you're also at like a pretty sweet box, and like from the sounds of it, you have like a really good community there as well, which is why we've kept it in your program too. Like you're still doing CrossFit, regularly. Like we talked about, you did it today even.
Yeah.
And so I think there's definitely like a space for doing CrossFit, no matter where you are in your journey. It really gives you that like ability to like push yourself in different ways that are like not as not the same as like conventional resistance training, which is what we primarily do with like Fit Vegan. We're mostly doing conventional strength training in order to achieve an outcome of like resculpting the body.
And I've enjoyed CrossFit much more since you've been my coach, because it makes me, I like the hybrid approach to it, where you're doing some conventional and some CrossFit, and it's made CrossFit and the whole experience a lot more enjoyable.
That's sweet.
Which helps with my consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. And you show up to a workout, and even if it's not a WOD that you like, you know, you've like cultivated like strength in other ways, and you can gut it out if you have to. Yeah, that's so sweet. I love that. And I'm stoked to hear that, obviously. Let's just pump my tires a little bit more here. Why not? That's sweet. I guess one thing that would be like good for people to know is like prior to jumping in on like Fit Vegan, so you had all these like fitness activities that you were doing, CrossFit, basketball, you had injuries in the past. What sort of like hesitations did you have prior to like jumping in on like another program?
I really didn't have any.
Sweet.
It was, yeah. I mean, I guess my only hesitation was knowing my history of being all in or all out. Like, and that's why I did some research and came to Fit Vegan is the accountability. And that's what really attracted me to the program. And I guess the only reservation I had is if it was on myself about, hey, you're going to be accountable. So if you're not doing what you're supposed to, you're going to feel really bad.
Yeah. How bad do you really want to feel?
Yeah. So the accountability is the part that I really was looking forward to. To be honest, I was, the one thing that attracted me to it it's a very comprehensive approach. Meeting with you regularly and having questions and putting them into the text in the app, and the comprehensive approach with the meals, like the meal program is the best that I've ever had. It's just like, here's what you eat, here's what you do, and they're easy and they're delicious. So it was that
especially that almond chia pudding.
Yeah.
That you just can't get enough of.
Yeah. And understanding the macros and with my size and with my goals, how many grams of protein do I need, and the total calories and the reverse dieting.
Yeah.
And just how well it was explained to me.
That's awesome. No, I love that. And yeah, in like our first call, even we had some like great conversations about like, I think as well, you were talking to, oh my gosh, was it Goldhammer you'd been? Yeah,
Goldhammer, and also we talked about Adam Sudd, who I met at that retreat.
Yeah,
about protein supplementation, and you already knew what I was talking about.
Totally, but you were like, you were on this journey though of like learning all these like great tips and like tools to like unlocking your own fitness. So no, that's great. I love that. I guess prior to like signing up, so you'd been doing some research, right? You'd been looking at the program and sort of like reading up. You'd been like on this like exploratory journey of like how to optimize your fitness and your training. is there any like tidbits or anything that at this point looking back you're like, oh wow, this was like a really like major revelation, this is something that I definitely didn't even consider or didn't know about prior to getting into this process compared to where you were on your own journey?
Yes. And I think that the one thing that I had struggled with was understanding macros. I mean, it seems like in the vegan, the whole food, plant-based world, there's a lot of talk about just eat, you know, a good variety of whole food, plant-based. But the one thing that it seemed like people like, I don't even worry about protein, or
Right.
it was like, if you ask that question, you're almost looked down upon. But you guys basically, what I liked is that here's how protein fits in with the goals that you've set. And it really locked down my understanding of what I needed and why. And that was something that I don't want to be one of those guys that talks about protein all the time, but that's the one thing that I didn't understand is like, you know, I've heard everything. I only need 40 grams of protein. But, you know, some people you don't need it because for whatever reason. Yeah. But you guys did a really good job of locking in the understanding of how it interfaces with what I'm trying to do.
Totally. No, that's sweet. Yeah. And I mean, it's so interesting. There's so many like opinions, and like really you can like pull data to support most opinions these days. So like, who's to say what like capital T truth is? But in terms of like, I know like my background in like sport performance and like sport education, like protein is important. To what degree it's important can definitely be argued. And whether somebody thinks you should have like 40% of your daily intake is protein versus 10% of your daily intake of protein, regardless, like you need to have protein. And like the nuance comes into like how much is optimal versus like how much is too much or too little. But yeah, it's so interesting how contentious of a subject that is. Like, we'll see what happens to this part of the conversation. We'll see how many people disagree with me in general, but
right,
my opinion and it is always that like it is a macronutrient for a reason, and especially when you're working on like performance and like developing like physical musculature, it becomes more important because you are constantly breaking down tissues, and your tissues are composed of things, and those things are proteins, or proteins in general, but those can be broken down to like various amino acids that constitute a protein. And so yes, you can consume a variety of non-protein sources with a wide variety of amino acids and be able to like reconstitute protein. However, the easiest way to rebuild your proteins is to just consume protein. Your body has to do less work.
Is it sarcopenia? Is that the term?
Sarcopenia, yeah, that's the breakdown of muscle tissue from aging. Right.
Which from aging. In fact, there was a post about that by Maxine this week about sarcopenia.
That was sweet.
Protein. So I like it that it's being dealt with.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I think I did a group call on it a couple of weeks ago as well. Did you see that one? Yeah. No, sarcopenia, like it happens. It sucks. It's unavoidable. The rate at which it occurs can be mitigated. Like you can slow that down, and there's different things you can do to like, can't really reverse it once you hit a certain threshold, but trying to mitigate that loss of musculature can definitely be achieved. No, that's sweet. I love that. Yeah. And like protein, my opinion, sport, you need to take it. If you're trying to be an athlete or athletic, you pretty much have to take it. There's like not really that much room not much room for argument there. But if you're just trying to be healthy and eat clean, maybe it's not as important. But again, that's not where I spent any of my education. So I can't really speak to that side of things. But on the sports side of things, I can definitely say without reservation, it is necessary. No, that's so sweet. I guess other than like sort of learning about like the nutritional side of things, is there anything like from our conversations that we've had about like movement side of things as well? What do you have any like takeaways about the way that you were training? And like, so you were just doing CrossFit and like the occasional basketball before, but I pushed you into incorporating, like, we're doing a split of CrossFit and conventional resistance training. I don't know if you remember like much of that conversation, but
Oh yeah.
yeah. Okay. What stuck
Yeah.
with you on that side of things? Like for other people who are maybe in a similar position where they do something like CrossFit or calisthenics, but they don't do like conventional weightlifting.
Well, I guess I was like, when we had that, I never told you this, but when we had that conversation, I'm just like, let me do my CrossFit and get my nutrition on point. But I'm like, all right, I'm this is not cheap, so I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
And I noticed that my ability and my gains were better by incorporating the two. And like you had, and then the emphasis that you put on me on stretching and mobility and putting that in my program, that's helped a lot. But like some of the movements, CrossFit's kind of like functional fitness where you use your whole body.
Totally.
Wherein you put in some isolation type movements where you're focusing on one particular muscle. And I think doing that hybrid type system, from what I think, is what's really helped me show some really pretty significant improvement since we've started.
No,
in strength and my body. So it's definitely changing.
Oh, definitely. And you're no longer a one-trick pony of being able to do massive deadlifts and struggling with
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, for sure. We want to keep those deadlifts strong. We want to make those deadlifts even stronger, though. We want to like unlock even more potential. Yeah, no.
Like doing the dumbbell deadlifts that you have me do, it feels like it really puts the emphasis where it needs to be. So it's like training. If you want to do something, you don't train what you need to do. You need to do some supplementation, which I really have enjoyed.
Exactly.
I think I've enjoyed it just because I've seen it work.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And yeah, I always like liken it to like building a support structure around your regular training. So like I'm an endurance athlete. What I do is I do endurance sport. I run, swim, bike in a straight line. And like sometimes there's a turn, but usually I'm just doing that. So conventionally, if you like looked at my training, you'd be like, deadlifts don't really support that. Like, what is it? Why would you do a deadlift? But I do deadlifts every week. Like I have a deadlift day every week because it helps develop that posterior chain strength. It helps create resiliency in the musculature as well as in like the skeletal structure. It increases your capacity. And so inversely with yourself, like you have these activities that you're doing like CrossFit, you have like a bunch of like broad range movements that you have to be able to do. So you're getting a lot of the like functional movement capacity. And what we really want to do is we want to target some of the weaknesses that are limiting those. So squat is like a difficult movement. So we're going to work on like lunges or split squats so that we can really work on increasing the unilateral ability so that we don't have disparity side to side, while also opening up like the hip capsule so you have more mobility and more capacity throughout the range of motion, and then building those support structures outside of the primary movers. So when you're under load, you're not as strained to complete the movement. So I love it.
You asked me something earlier about what I was skeptical or about. I forget exactly how you phrased it, but you actually, this conversation reminded me of something I was skeptical about. And that was the lack of like traditional cardio workouts.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, wow, I'm not sitting on the bike for half an hour. I'm not doing any of this stuff. But I got the Aura Ring, which you all recommended, or one of the things you recommended, and my resting heart rate's gone down since doing this workout. I'm like at 51 right now, which it's been a long time since I've had a resting heart rate of 51.
51,
and I'm not doing.
And what birthday was it last week?
Cardio. Huh?
It was your birthday last week, and how old did you turn last week?
62.
And a resting heart rate of 51. Look at you go. What a guy. Yeah. No, it's awesome. And I mean, arguably, CrossFit has like a very high like cardiovascular requirement. So we don't really need to, like, there's exercises that you do sometimes where, like I said, you're running a mile with a weight vest or something, or you're doing like whatever, X number of calories on the rowing erg or the Airdyne. So you're getting the like cardiovascular stimulus. albeit through like high intensity interval style training. So not the
Right.
traditional like long zone 2 style of training, which is definitely down the road, something we can probably explore, and you'll see even more benefit from that. But yeah, the cardiovascular ability of you has probably increased significantly, one, in part due to the weight loss that we've seen, but two, from giving your body the days to recover from that high intensity training of CrossFit. So instead of doing 3 to 5 days a week where you're just like beating the crap out of yourself and then like fading and like having to take a long rest before you get back in, like a week or two of inconsistency, we're now able to like utilize and see a lot more of the benefit from that CrossFit.
Right.
Whereas those are now our like hit days where we're seeing that high intensity cardiopulmonary response. And then on the other days, you're focusing explicitly on strength training. So your body's actually adapting and recovering from those CrossFit sessions as well. So yeah. Which is great.
Well, that took some getting used to, because the workouts that you program for me, I'm working out, but I can talk.
Totally.
And I'm like finished with it. I'm not laying in a puddle of sweat like you would a CrossFit workout. And I'm like, that took a while to get used to.
The different kind of fatigue.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, I'm walking out here and I don't have to change my shirt because it's a sweaty mess. So.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just dripping sweat as you walk out of the CrossFit box.
That took some getting used to.
Definitely. Yeah. Big like mindset shift for you. Like in terms of like, what does intensity look like? Like what does a hard workout look like? Do you have to be crushing the airdyne in order for it to be a difficult workout? Like not necessarily. So yeah, I love that. That's so sweet. That's a good one. That's a good one to come away with. I guess like there's like a few other things that like I'm like curious to get like your insights on. One that I think would be like really interesting would be just like, out of all the things you learned, like whether it's like protein or like recovery, stretch, these sort of things, like what is like one of the like most valuable skills or like bits of knowledge that you think you've incorporated into your life, like something that you've actually like employed into your lifestyle right now and has had a tangible change?
Consistency and habits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's like consistency works.
Consistency works.
Yeah.
Newsflash.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew? 62 years on this planet, I finally realized that. But I know I have to find it here in a sec. I turned my phone off, but there was that quote that I asked you about kind of really kind of brought it home. I've turned my phone back on so I can pull it up, because that kind of summarizes what I've learned in doing all this. And it was something that Maxine put on the Fit app message that kind of really resonated. Does it better than I can. Why that just remember that self-discipline is not self-suppression. Suppression is when you resist and fight against your desires, keeping them as buried and unexpressed as possible. Self-discipline is when your highest desires rule your lesser desires, not through resistance, but through loving action grounded in understanding and compassion.
Boom!
Yeah. So that was just like a light bulb. Yeah, there's some quotes that just kind of like hit home with you, and that was one of them. Dude. And the what I want to accomplish in my athletic endeavors and my health, and to reach those goals, being consistent is something that I need to express more. And I'm not giving up something by doing it. In fact, when I do it, I'm more joyful, I'm happier. And so it's kind of like giving a gift to yourself through consistency.
I love that. It's actually such an interesting conceptual framework. And
is that too touchy-feely?
No, not at all. I love that. No, that's great. Like it's so good. And I mean, obviously it resonates for a reason, right? There's a lot of like generic truth within that. It also, like when you asked me about the quote and I pulled it up for you there, it reminded me of this conversation that I had during my graduate studies in a psychology class. I don't remember what it was verbatim, but essentially somebody was posing the argument that athletes have to sacrifice a lot of their life in order to achieve this greatness. And they make huge sacrifices and they miss out on a lot of life in order to achieve. And myself, having competed at a high amateur level, but never at an elite or professional level. So like right away, like this is
same
my perspective. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like I was getting paid to do this. So like I can't fully speak to this, but in my experience, the things that you sacrifice or that other people would see as a sacrifice are actually things that aren't really all that fulfilling. And like the fulfillment of training and performing is so much greater. And like this is part of what we were talking about off camera with like the research that I want to do in terms of like filling your self, like spiritually, psychosocially, psychologically, however you want to think of that, with like fulfilling endeavors is far more efficacious than filling yourself with like inane substances or consumption. Like, sure, like I don't go to the movies very often. I don't even know the last time I went to a bar or a pub. Like probably during my undergrad was like really the last time that I went anytime after 7 p.m. But I miss out on all of these things. And like people will often see these things as sacrifice, and like following like a plant-based diet. People say, oh, you have to sacrifice cheese. You have to sacrifice like whatever food it is. Fitness, you're sacrificing the time that you could be spending watching your favorite Netflix series. Like there's all these things that you're sacrificing, but really you're replacing them with this more fulfilling endeavor, and you're filling yourself up. Like you are still it's very self-serving and self-indulgent at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's self-serving and self-indulgent in a different kind of way, rather than just the like consumption of things or ideas or whatever. So yeah, no, I love that quote too. And it's great. It's not, the idea of like suppression and self-discipline is so great. Because definitely when we are disciplined and we are allowing our highest desires to manifest themselves rather than our basal desires, we're definitely enjoying life so much more. So I'm really glad that resonated with you and that you wanted to bring that to the table today. That's great. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna tape it up on my fridge.
Dude, you should.
Yeah.
One thing I used to do when I was like more serious in competing is I would find quotes, and like anytime a quote would resonate with me, I would just like write it in Sharpie on a piece of white paper, and I would tape it on my ceiling above my bed, so that when I wake up in the morning, I would wake up and I would have like the time that I wanted to achieve for the race that was coming up. And then I would have a motivational quote, and it'd be like, whatever, 4:35 in the morning or something that like a normal like 19-year-old would not do. Like wake up, look at that and be like, oh, all right, time to get up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I love having things like that written out.
One of my favorite quotes is from the movie Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, okay.
And I say it to myself every morning when I get out of bed. And it was when he had been in isolation, and he was talking with Morgan Freeman's character, and he goes, well, we got two choices. And I mean, it definitely hits home for me, being 62. You got two choices. You can either get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I say to myself every morning. Well, I do say it to myself every morning when I get up. You got two choices today. Either get busy living or get busy dying.
So good. It's so true. Like, like, and how are you serving yourself, and like, what are you doing to make sure that you're getting busy living?
Yeah.
And it makes it so much easier when you have that kind of mindset, when you're framing your life around that. Like, oh, I guess I got to get busy living then. Here we go. That's how it's got to be. That's so good. I love that. And like, obviously, like in all of our communications and like whenever we have our like calls and stuff and chatting, like I always appreciate and like respect the energy that you put into the training that you're doing and your diet, nutrition, and just like taking care of yourself and life. Even if you have like a weekend where you just like consume an entire pizza
And I have.
but like whatever, you're still doing great.
I'm definitely having a couple of hiccups. I mean,
exactly.
But it's I'm definitely not perfect at all by any stretch. But yeah, this has really helped me get back on the horse quicker. I mean, you don't
the accountability side.
If you have a bad few days, it's like, okay, stop that nonsense. It's time to get back to basically what that quote said.
Big time. And a bad few days doesn't spiral into a bad few weeks or a bad few months. It like you have a bad few days, and then you have to send me a message. And you're like, by the way, Nick, I did a thing. I'm sorry. And then I shame you, obviously.
Yes.
Only way. No, I'm like, that's okay. Like, get back on the saddle. Let's go.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, from you? No way. Come on. You're better than that. Let's go. Get back to
right.
No, totally. But being able to like support you on that journey is so awesome. Like in terms of that journey itself, like, I guess, let's do like a quick run through of, so we're 4 coming into like 5 months in. What are like some of the changes that you've seen in yourself, like physically, psychologically, spiritually, however you want to frame that? And how does that stack up to like what your expectations were prior? That's the caveat.
Oh, I've seen physical changes. My clothes fit differently. I mean, you've seen the weight loss drop, and I definitely put on more muscle mass. So I think that even makes the fat loss even more significant. I've seen, and I always thought I'm trying to lose weight, and I always thought that would really affect my ability to put on lean mass or increase my strength at the gym, but it hasn't. I've definitely made increases in my PRs or my max lifts. I had one today. So
which one was it today?
It was a push press. It was a 1 rep max push press, and I did 195, which isn't bad.
All right.
Yeah. So I was pretty pleased with that.
That's pretty damn good. That's killer.
So it's all intertwined. Like when you're on point with your nutrition, which this program makes very easy. I love how I make a booklet that has, in color with all the pictures of the recipes and my grocery list. I keep it's in my car right now because I'm stopped by Whole Foods and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this is on what I have tonight, so I need to pick up the avocado or whatever. So I really enjoy that part. It's a lot of fun. So I just think that it's kind of there's not one thing. It's sort of holistic approach with the nutrition and the consistency and the goals I've set. I've set some goals. I want to do, like I told you, I want to do an Olympic lifting competition. And I live in a very meat and potatoes. I live in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Very meat and potatoes, very conservative area. So I don't want to be if you come out and preach veganism in this part of the country, you're probably going to get run out on a rail. Yeah. But the one thing I've noticed is people are curious about the changes and how I'm doing it. And especially when I wear my Fit Vegan shirt, they're like, "You're not vegan."
Yeah, right, dude.
Yeah,
you're way too shredded for that.
Yeah, well, you have a Ford pickup. You can't be vegan.
Yeah.
So, but in this part of the country, you're not going to get. It'd be kind of fun to lead by example, like where if you're doing something and you're seeing a lot of improvements, be able to have the information when someone comes up to you and says, "Man, I've noticed your changes. How do you do it?" Totally. And that's happened a couple of times already. And I quit eating meat. I quit eating meat and dairy.
Yeah.
And they're like,
no, you didn't. Quit pulling my leg.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is. It's so nice when you can like, sort of like, at the risk of sounding too cheesy, but sorry, too cheesy, sort of like manifest this like self that is on like a path of like growth, and people recognize that, whatever it is, like the way that you carry yourself, the way that you like interact and engage with people around you is like very different when you're like comfortable and confident in your body and you feel like you're making progress and you're sort of like on this like trajectory of growth. You definitely engage with people far differently, and the way that you engage with people like shifts how they take what you're giving them. So if you're like confident and like feeling good in your body and like moving big heavy weights, and people are like, oh wow, like look at Phil, he's doing great, like I wonder what he's been doing differently than the last like 3 years. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this and this. Like you're not
Right.
preaching in any sort of way. You're just like being real and like, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, works great for me. I would definitely recommend it.
Right.
People pick that up so much easier. And
the other thing is, it's really helped me with, I'm trying to avoid cancer surgery or radiation.
Totally.
I don't know if you want to get into all that. That's up to you. But I did. I had a PSA June of 23, and that's when I started making the changes that led me to Fit Vegan. But I had a PSA of 6.8, and anything over my age above 4 is problematic. And that's when I went and did the biopsy and found out that I had prostate cancer in every tissue that they did the biopsy on. And I went and saw the doctor, and they said, the urologist, and she said, you need to have either radiation or surgery. You're in a very bad situation. You're in a life-threatening situation. And I'm like, I don't think I like what I'm hearing about what this surgery does and what the potential side effects are. And that's when I really, said, I've been kind of tiptoeing around this vegan stuff. I'm going to go in full bore, and did the long fast, and I'm going to go whole food, plant-based, and really clean up my diet. And that's when I started researching. And I think I saw Maxime on another podcast, and maybe with Rip Esselstyn. I think, has he been on his podcast?
Probably. I'm not.
But I saw him on somebody else's I saw him on somebody else's podcast when he was a guest. And that's what led me to being curious about what you guys did. And the more I read, the more it really fit what I wanted to do. That's another one of my favorite quotes from Ted Lasso.
Yeah, give it to me. I'm ready.
Yeah, baby. It's like when they're playing darts and he against his boss's ex, and he said, if you'd have been more curious and less judgmental, you'd have known I would. And I'd be asked that you'd have known I've been a really good dart player, and I'm about ready to kick your butt. Yeah. But anyway, the quote is, "Don't be judgmental. Be curious. Don't be judgmental."
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that quote, because it's so much truth in it. But if you're just curious and you try to find out, and you don't try to be dogmatic about to justify what you're doing, and find out if what you're doing really is the best approach.
Big time.
And just keep learning. And like I said, that led me to you guys. And my philosophy and what you did I think is meshed very well.
I love that. Oh, I think so too. It's definitely meshed very well. We've had great results so far, and like we're still on a great trajectory. I'm excited. Oh, 100%. I'm excited too, obviously. No, there's a lot there. And I think your last checkup that you had for your PSA was like below, like the threshold is like 4 or something for at risk, and you're below that now, right? Like,
yeah, I've had it tested three times since then.
Yeah.
Since told me I needed to have surgery to ensure I don't die.
Yeah.
Then that's when I went whole food, plant-based. I've had my blood tested 3 times, and each time the PSA was below 4.
Right. Yeah.
The doctor
from like above 6 to like, or you were in the 9?
Almost 7.
Oh, okay,
6.8 to 3.6.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my doctor here, when I told him what I was going to do, the whole food, plant-based with the fast, and he was just like, you got time. It's not going to work, but you got time.
Yeah.
You want to try it. And then when I got my first blood work back, he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. So.
No, that's great. And like, I love that. And like, obviously like anecdotal is great. So awesome. And
right. And it is, I realize it is anecdotal, and I'm not trying to tell anybody that
Oh yeah.
If you have prostate cancer, don't listen to your doctors and go just eat whole food, plant-based. But I'm just telling anecdotally what has happened to me.
Exactly. And I'm such a fan because like you can't get this type of data if you don't like try these things either, right? So like the only reason data exists is from people trying stuff. So
Right.
there's a reason we know like certain things are poisonous.
Yeah.
It's not because we were born and we're like, oh, that's poisonous. Someone
Right.
tried it, figured it
Right.
out. So no, I love that. I guess like to wrap things up, like if someone was in like a similar situation as you, like they're physically active, they're doing the right things, like you were eating healthy, you were doing physical activity, like what do you think, what do you wish you told yourself like 5 years ago when you were starting your journey prior to Fit Vegan? Yeah.
Well, I wish I would have told myself what I've learned, or what's been reinforced since doing Fit Vegan. And what I've learned in that is consistency and basically getting back on the horse if you fall off. Don't let that spiral into something where you're just in a bad place for weeks or even a couple of months, and you get back on the horse.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's so great. And like, honestly, like my whole like philosophy on coaching is there's so many ways that you can train yourself, and like there's resources everywhere. The internet is a wonderful place for like resources. And like, if you take enough time, you can learn anything that you want via the internet or like school or whatever. But the real role of like a coach is to support their athlete or to support their like client, however you want to frame that. And like creating an environment that is conducive to growth, whether it's like physical growth or like emotional growth, whatever that happens to be. And yeah, so like I always love to just like frame with anyone that I'm working with that like I'm not necessarily here with any secret knowledge. Like there's nothing that we've done with you that is like crazy, like Fit Vegan only, like only can you do this if you are signed up for Fit Vegan. Literally, it's all stuff that like on some level you were starting to explore, and like you had some understanding, some knowledge, but being a part of a community, having a coach for accountability, having the support systems around you, those are really the things that you're signing up for when you're here, right? And
yeah, I would agree that there's not one thing that you guys do that's super mind blowing, but what's mind blowing is that you do all of these things. It's not the one thing you do, but it's the comprehensive approach. It's the personal coach. It's, having Maxime as the leader and bringing in these incredible guests. I mean, I heard a world-renowned doctor and Maxime having a very spirited discussion about.
We talked about that, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just awesome. You have these people, and they were it was supportive, but they each had their own opinion. But
totally.
You have these great guests. You have these great chefs and recipes that come in and who answer questions about why they're saying you should eat these particular types of things. And you have all that with the programming and the meal plans and everything together just makes it makes sense and it works.
Yeah. And it's so great because, yeah, like each of these individual things, yeah, you can do it on your own, but like, are you going to? And that's really what it boils down to. And that's really what you experienced prior to signing up with us as well. And like having the opportunity.
I think the fit with your coach is important as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And they were, I was meeting with, I'm sorry, I just forgot Maxime's wife's name.
Ivy.
And I think Alex, and they were both like, oh, you're a Nick guy.
Yeah.
You're going with Nick.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
It checks out.
And it's so, knock on wood, so far so good. It's been great.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. And honestly, like we're still on this journey where we've still got more to go. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what else we have going on for you. And when we have the Phillip 2.0 podcast
All right.
Stoked to see what our next time point takes us to.
Yeah, I'm hoping you want to. I'm hoping that the results are so good we have to do it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you're going to stay accountable and you're going to achieve those results, and it's going to be great.
We recorded this, so I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're committed. That's part of my whole ruse.
Yeah.
I've got you locked in. Now you're committed.
Yeah.
You have
part
to.
of that Machiavellian thing that you're doing.
Exactly. You know it.
Mind tricks and stuff.
Big Machiavelli fan over here, of course. But I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Man, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, no worries. We'll see you again soon.